Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. In today's video, we'll be diving into the essentials of working with databases in SQL. You'll learn how to create a database, set up tables, and insert data into them. Along the way, we'll also cover some of the most common data types you'll encounter in SQL, helping you get familiar with how data is stored and managed. To follow along, all you need is Microsoft SQL Server and SQL Server Management Studio. Don't worry if you haven't installed them yet. I've created a step-by-step tutorial showing how to download and set everything up. You'll find the link to that video in the description below, so be sure to check it out before we dive in. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let's jump right in and get started. Creating a database. In Microsoft SQL Server, a database is a structured storage unit that holds data and provides mechanisms for managing, retrieving, and manipulating this data efficiently. There are several methods to create a database, but for this tutorial, we'll use the Create Database statement. So to do this, we first need to open a new query window. Let's do this by clicking on New Query in the Tools tab located at the top left of the Management Studio. This will open up a blank query editor where we can write the necessary SQL commands to create our database. Creating a database in Microsoft SQL Server is super easy. All we need to do is use the Create Database statement followed by the name we want to give the database. In this instance, we want to name the database ShopDB. So we will type the statement Create Database ShopDB and end it with a semicolon. This statement will create a new database in the SQL Server and name it ShopDB. To actually execute the command and create the database, we need to click Execute in the Tools tab. The message, All commands completed successfully, indicates that the database has been created successfully. If we go ahead and refresh the Object Explorer, we should see ShopDB listed as one of the databases. If we expand the database, we'll notice there are no custom tables available for our queries. So the next step is to define its structure by creating tables. Tables are where the data will be stored, and each table consists of rows, data entries, and columns, attributes or fields, much like an Excel spreadsheet. Before creating our tables, let's change the Create Database statement into a comment. This ensures the database creation command doesn't run each time we execute new queries in this query window. So to do this, we will simply add 2 dashes at the start of the line to comment it out. Next, let's go ahead and write the statement use ShopDB followed by a semicolon and go. This statement ensures that all subsequent operations, such as creating tables or inserting data, are executed within this database. With that said, we can now create our tables. To create tables in the database, we will use the create statement again, this time for tables. In addition to specifying the table name, we'll also need to define its structure by including the column names, data types, and any constraints. So to create a table named employees, we'll begin by writing the statement create table employees, followed by an open parenthesis. Inside the parentheses, we'll specify each column by defining its name, data type, and any constraints we want to apply. To include a column for employee IDs, we'll start by typing employee underscore ID followed by INT, primary key, and a comma. The INT specifies that the data type for this column will be an integer, and primary key is the constraint. This constraint ensures that each value in this column will serve as a unique identifier for the row it is associated with, meaning it cannot be duplicated or left empty. Now let's add the remaining columns to complete the employees table. As we add additional columns to the create table statement, you may have noticed that we have kept the SQL keywords such as create table in uppercase. This is not mandatory, as SQL is not case sensitive for keywords. However, using uppercase for keywords is a common convention that enhances code readability and distinguishes them from column names and other identifiers. With that said, to explain what we just did, we have added 5 additional columns to the table. First name and last name, both with the varchar data type, which stands for variable character, and is used to store text strings. The 50 in parentheses specifies the maximum length of the text, allowing up to 50 characters in each column. Next, we added a department ID column with the integer data type, followed by a hire date column using the date data type. Finally, we included a salary column with the decimal data type, where 10 indicates the total number of digits allowed, and 2 specifies the number of digits after the decimal point. With that said, we will click on Execute to create the table in the database. To confirm that the table has been successfully created, we will refresh the Object Explorer, expand the Tables folder within the ShopDB database, and locate the table we just created. If the table was created successfully, it will appear in the list of tables as shown. We'll proceed to create 3 additional tables. For these, I'll simply copy and paste the statements, since we'll just be repeating the same steps. Also, all the SQL statements used in this tutorial will be included in the video description. This way, you can download the file and copy-paste the statements directly. Explaining what we just did, we added SQL statements to create 3 additional tables: the department table, the products table, and the orders table. Before we proceed and click on Execute to create these additional tables, we'll first turn the Create Table Employees statement into a comment, as we've already created this table. So to do this, we will simply enclose the Create Table Employees statement with a /* at the beginning and */ at the end. This prevents the statement from running again, avoiding any errors related to trying to recreate an existing table. We will then click on Execute to create the additional tables in the database. Similarly, if we refresh the Object Explorer, we will find the 3 additional tables successfully created in the ShopDB database. Inserting data into our table. Now that our tables are created, the next step is to add data to them. So like we did earlier, let's go ahead and comment out all the Create Table statements. To insert data into the tables we have created SQL Server, we will use the Insert Into statement. So for instance, to insert data into the employees table, we start by typing the Insert Into statement followed by the table name, which in this case is employees, and an open parenthesis. Inside the parentheses, we will list all the column names in the employees table where data will be inserted. It's worth mentioning that if we're adding data to all the columns in the table, it's not mandatory to list the specific column names. However, it's considered good practice as it makes the query more readable and reduces the chances of errors if the table structure changes later. Next, we will type the keyword values. And this is where we will specify the actual data we want to insert into the corresponding columns of the table. Also, when adding values for each column, it is essential to ensure that the order of the values aligns exactly with the order of the columns specified in the Insert Into statement. This alignment guarantees that the correct data is inserted into the appropriate columns. We also need to ensure that the data types of the values align with the column definitions we specified during the table creation. With that said, let's go ahead and add additional rows of data to this table. For the next rows of data we'll add to this table, I'll simply copy and paste them. And as mentioned earlier, all the SQL statements used in this tutorial will be included in the video description, so you can easily copy and paste them while following along instead of typing them out. And with that, we'll click Execute to insert the data into the table. A quick way to verify that the data has been properly inserted into the table is by right-clicking on the table in the Object Explorer and selecting Select Top 1000 Rows. As we can see from the query result, the data has been successfully inserted into the employees table. Each row in the query output corresponds to a record we inserted, and the values align with the respective columns. Next, we will go ahead and insert data into the other tables in the database. So, like we've done for the previous statements, let's go ahead and first comment out the Insert Into Employees table statement to avoid executing it again. Next, we will go ahead and copy and paste the insert into statements for the other tables in the database. Once we've pasted the insert into statements for the other tables, we can go ahead and click Execute to insert the data into the respective tables. And with that, we come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this tutorial. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with any questions or valuable contributions you'd like to add. In our next video, we'll go over how to select data, sort it, filter it, and perform basic aggregations. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.